Joining us now, Texas Congressman Brian Babin. Congressman, good morning to you. We spoke a moment ago. You called this a momentous day. What is your reaction to what we've seen so far from these results as we see these Trump rallies gather in Washington?
Yeah, it's what I expected. There are millions and millions of Americans out there who feel that they have been disenfranchised by what has happened on November the 3rd. And we know that we're planning on objecting to various states that we think, in fact, it's clearly shows they violated the Constitution, the prerogative of the state legislatures constitutionally is to choose these electors. And the election laws of these states, Sandra, were changed and in a clear violation, as I said, by not legislatures, but by governors, by secretaries of state, by local election officials, and even private entities. It's incredible. And so we're going to stand up and object and see if we can get some transparency and some scrutiny of what actually went on November the 3rd and the days following. And that's why we're here.
Many of your conservative colleagues agree. In reaction to what we've seen so far, Mark Levin says that we are on the verge of a constitutional crisis. Here's his thoughts.
We have a constitutional crisis that nobody wants to talk about. The 4 battleground states, you had unconstitutional elections if you follow the Constitution. Unconstitutional elections as a result of what the Democrats did, circumventing the state legislatures.
Congressman, circling back, adding to that and circling back to a point you just made, that this is what you expected. You saw this coming. Tucker Carlson, as we just played his monologue last night, he made a similar point. But what did the GOP do about it? Did your party do enough knowing that this was coming? Would you have done anything differently?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Of course, I'm not sitting at that table, and I assume that things were prepared for this eventuality because the president had been talking about, mail-in voters and absentee ballots for many, many weeks prior to the election. However, it didn't look like that perhaps we should have filed a lot of these lawsuits prior to the election. However, that doesn't negate the situation that we see today, where unconstitutional actions were taking place in these various states that absolutely took away and disenfranchised many, many voters. When you send out hundreds of thousands and millions of unsolicited absentee ballots that you cannot verify, they have no creases in them, and weren't in secrecy envelopes, spikes of hundreds of thousands of votes coming in at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning in some of these states. We just feel like we have to stand up because Congress is the last bastion. We didn't get our day in court, and so we're going to have our day in Congress today. And I'm going to stand up proudly. I think I'm on the right side of history here because all of the millions of Americans need to see someone speaking on their behalf and wanting to see fair, free elections to continue our great democratic republic of the United States of America.
I want to play this from Jody Heiss earlier this morning, reacting to the elections. Watch.
The consequences of this obviously go far, far beyond Georgia. This really is going to determine the political philosophy of our country going forward, whether we're going to embrace socialism or freedom.
So, Congressman, you object to the electoral results of the 2020 presidential election. You just laid out your reasoning why. But so many hear that and wonder, what is the end game for you? Are you trying to overturn the election results and keep President Trump in the White House? Do you think that that's a possible path, or are you trying to change things for the future? If you could clarify for us.
I sure can. I'm trying to make sure that we have future free and fair elections. I would love to see this election overturned, especially if there was the evidence that was brought out after scrutinizing it and fair investigations, which we wish that some of these courts had taken, federal, state, and otherwise. However, I think that Americans want and depend upon free, fair elections, then they'll know that their votes are going to count and that illegal votes will not count. And I've spoken with my colleague, Jody Heiss, this very morning. He's from Georgia. Of course, I'm from Texas. Just stunned to see what happened there. And, you know, we had hundreds of thousands of more absentee, unsolicited ballots that were sent out by the Secretary of State in Georgia.
I've got to leave it there, Congressman.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you coming on with us this morning. We are going to hear more from your Republican colleagues a bit later when all of that plays out. Appreciate your time, sir. Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.